This stream is sponsored by IGK TAS, telemetry analysis system powered by IGK. Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to TTML F1. We are here for Season 6, Round number 5 of the Championship, as we take in the Dutch Grand Prix from the Xanvort Circuit. My name is James. I'm going to be taking you the stream, as always, on a Sunday night. And joining me in the comment box, it's not a Sunday night without him. It is Mr. Luke Etheridge. Luke, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. Good evening, James. Good evening, everyone watching you at home. I think, again, we need to clarify that this race should have slightly less controversial stewards' decisions than what we have seen earlier on, but hopefully we will get some great action around a circuit where I imagine if you went to this track today, there'd be a hell of a lot of partying going on.
Definitely, because of course we think Max Verstappen is the World Drivers' Championship, and first of all, congratulations to him on securing that, and it was a really dramatic final lap of the race. Hopefully nothing going to be ending up in the court of arbitration like it might in real life, but one thing and one thing only that we're focusing on here, of course, is TTML F1. And to take you through what happened, of course, last week, Tom Robbo won, Jensen second, Lynx in third. They were the top three in Hungary. And looking at the standings coming into tonight, Jensen leading the way on 102.5 points. Tom Robbo in second on 68.5 points, beginning to close that gap slightly on Jensen. Zerma in third on 56.5, Lynx in fourth on 52, Fleddy in fifth on 49.5, Black Box in sixth on 38, Funky Chicken a point behind in seventh on 37, Boss wanted eighth on 35, Rudy in ninth on 33.5, and Perpetuum in 10th on 31. Then it's Connor, Luca, Bunty, Noah, enough round off the top 15. Isu, F1 Lover, Chalkers, Denzo, and Basti rounding off the 20 drivers. Jensen has still got a very comfortable margin in front. I think it's more than a race winning advantage that he has got over Tom Robbo. But Tom showed last week why he is a force to be reckoned with, obviously coming into tonight.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Tom did a fantastic job last time around, pretty much. Despite the fact that Jensen was leading, he made that slight mistake, you could say, on the strategy call. Tom Robbo called it right, and then after that really controlled the race. Jensen did a wonderful job to recover back to second, and those two, they seem to have the pace and the consistency rather than everyone else. And like you did say, it is more than a race victory. It's more than a race victory with the fastest lap as well. So no matter what happens here today, Jensen will be leading at the halfway point. He'll be hoping for, I think, at least another podium again. Might be a bit worried about that if Tom Robbo does end up taking the victory, but a podium puts him in a really good position going into the final 5 races.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with McLaren obviously dominating in terms of the constructor standings as well, I think Jensen wants to try and have that little bit of a buffer, of course, going towards the Christmas break, which I think is not... Is it next week or the week after, if I'm not mistaken?
We've got one more race next week. I'll just very quickly get the calendar up. We have one more race next week around Sochi for the Russian Grand Prix. Then the rest of the 4 races, including the sprint around France, going to be after, well, they'll be next year, 2022.
My mind just went completely blank there, as you can probably tell. But McLaren, of course, leading the way in terms of the constructors' standings, 136 points to their name. And Jensen has been part of that, of course, 102.5 points to his name, helping out McLaren's well-driven lead. Mercedes in second on 101.5 points. Alpine in third on 93.5. Williams in fourth on 82.5. Ferrari in fifth on 57.5. Aston Martin sixth on 55. Haas in seventh on 49. AlphaTauri in eighth on 35. Red Bull in ninth on 9. And Alfa Romeo in 10th on 7.5 points. Looks like we've got 17 drivers currently within the lobby so far. Drivers, I think, are going to be readying up very soon indeed. But looking at those constructor standings, Luke, McLaren have nearly got a race advantage over Mercedes. Can Mercedes try and pull that back, of course, with Lynx and Fleddy tonight?
They're going to have to try something. They've, to be honest, Mercedes have been... It's more been consistency for them rather than outright pace, in my opinion. That's not to say that they haven't done a bad job. I don't think Mercedes at the moment. They've sort of made the most of what they've got. I think you'd be expecting maybe Williams could do with Noof stepping it up ever so slightly. That might help them out. But I think over the course of the season, Jensen and Rudy should have enough, I reckon, to beat the Mercedes. But again, still a long way to go.
Yeah, still a long way to go, of course. Indeed, we are only halfway through by the time we get past tonight, of course, here in the Netherlands. And, of course, the Netherlands is the track we are at tonight. The Xanvort Circuit, 4.3 kilometres and then 2.6 miles around the old banking of turn 14, of course, through Arie Lundijk. But with one DRS zone, it is with two DRS zones, in fact, one down towards turn 11 and then one down through in towards turn 1 at Tarzan. It does create a lot of opportunity, but we have to try and speak about what we saw in F2, DRS train, because if you're getting boiled in that DRS train again, it's going to be very difficult to overtake.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's going to be an interesting one around this circuit. It's very difficult to overtake around here. Turn 1's your only realistic opportunity. There is possibilities at other parts of the circuit as well, but you can generally have to rely on a driver making a bit of mistake at other parts of the circuit. So I think turn 1 is where you'll see the majority of the overtakes happening. How many you'll see, I'm not too sure.
Nathan Clark, by the way, in the comments section, confirming I think what we already knew. Chris Medland from Twitter has said that Red Bull stating the protest has not been upheld. Therefore, Max Verstappen confirmed as World Drivers' Champion, and then Mercedes, of course, confirmed as World Constructors' Champions. Of course, we're here for one reason and one reason only, and that, of course, is TTML. You can debate as much as you like in the comments section, but, however, of course, keep it clean if you are going to debate about what happened in real life. But, in the meantime, of course, join us with some really good action that is about to unfold, certainly in the same racing mode here for TTML F1 tonight. And once again, Circuit Xanvort in Xanvort. I know a few drivers, actually. I was commentating around here on Tuesday a few weeks ago, and FRL Lou, who actually won that race, lives about 5 minutes away from the circuit. So there is quite a lot of Dutch influence, of course, around here at Xanvort. And I mean, we saw the scenes in real life. The Yellow Army, the Orange Army, in fact, could be well out in force.
Yeah, certainly. I think a few of the Dutch drivers that are here tonight wouldn't mind putting in a a good performance. It's a bit of a classic F1 circuit, despite the fact that, obviously, for modern F1 fans, it is fairly new. 1952 was the first time they raced around here. There has been some historic moments. James Hunt getting his first Formula 1 victory around here for the Hesketh team in 1975, and then 10 years later, in what was the last race around the old layout, Niki Lauda in the McLaren. Sort of a bit of irony, seeing as him and James Hunt have some history, of course, in real life. He got his last ever win in Formula 1, and then we saw it return this year, a year later than what we were supposed to, with Max Verstappen taking a victory. And I think at that point, we all expected maybe his run to the championship to be a bit more straightforward than it has turned out to be so far, because even though that decision has been made, I think we'll be seeing a court case. And unfortunately, I think this is going to rumble on a bit longer.
Yeah, I think it is going to rumble on a bit longer, but of course, the last time we raced around here in 1980, the banking has changed since then, of course. It is a 30% decrease in terms of the banking around here, and that's through Arie Lundijk at turn 13 and 14. If you are Dutch, by the way, and listening to me pronounce these corner names, please let me know if I am pronouncing them right. I have tried my very best to try and pronounce a few corner names at least out on track. Jensen on the run-up towards Skyflack at turn 7, and that is, of course, through the right-hander, the flat right-hander going through turn 7. But Jensen will be hoping, of course. He's on a set of medium compound tyres that I can see, and it's not interesting to see, actually, that he is on a set of mediums, because we saw quite a few drivers in F2 obviously do that on Thursday.
Yeah, it's definitely a tactic you can do, given the amount of bounced corners around here. A lot of long right-handers as well. Jensen's just come through a few at the start of the second sector. It really does put a lot of stress on that front left tyre, so don't be surprised to see drivers trying to get into the top 10 on a set of the medium tyres. Medium hard would be the optimal strategy around here. Given how close the walls are, though, high expectation that there could be a safety car.
Yeah, high expectations indeed, and we saw quite a late safety car in the weirdest of circumstances getting deployed. It was F1 AMG on Thursday, deploying the safety car around turn 2, and that was through the right-hander. But Jensen now on a lap, coming through Arie Lundijk, and now on the run down and towards Tarzan at turn 1. See, Tarzan is the easiest corner to pronounce on this track. So now come through in towards turn 1 with Jensen. He is on that set of medium compound tyres. Now in towards the right-hander of turn 2, and then, of course, in towards the banking of turn 3. And he takes the curb very nicely indeed. Flies through the banking. He can, of course, take the outside line through we were seeing in real life. But now, up the hill, in towards Guy Flack at the end of the first sector. Jensen, 24.5 on a set of medium compound tyres. Now through Guy Flack at turn 7, and then in toward the right-hander of turn 8, and then in towards turn 9, another right-hander, 90-degree right-hander this time. Nice slow exit of the curb there from Jensen, and now into the left-hander of turn 10. He's got a little bit of traffic in front of him. I think that's Williams, if I'm not mistaken, in front of him. Mistakenly, that is IFR Tom Rubble just getting out of the way to the left-hand side of him, and now Jensen to the end of the middle sector, 48.9. So really flying now, coming through turn 11, and then through turn 12, and then in towards the right-handers of 13 and 14 through Ari Lundijk once again, and that is pretty much a lap of the track completed off with, and Jensen's looking good through the middle sector. We have got the TAS system working in order this week, and now Jensen on the run to the line, 1:10.3 to start us off.
Yeah, not a bad lap whatsoever. Interested to see what Mr. Harry Banks can do, of course. Reigning F1 champion, because of work and different things, he hasn't been able to make any races so far this season, so it's the first time we're getting to see him in anger as a reserve driver in the Red Bull, and he was down slightly, in the first sector, down slightly in the second sector as well, getting a lot of curb on the inside there at turn number 13, and that is not what you want to be doing whatsoever, so he comes flat out through the final corner. Expected this to be a few tenths off, and yeah, lost 3/10 of a second in the end in that final sector. Definitely less than ideal. Funky Chicken has gone up into third place. See what Connor can do. He's heading towards the end of his lap now, looking quicker actually in the first two sectors than Jensen. Definitely a man who we know has got the pace. For one reason or another, apart from Azerbaijan, hasn't been able to show that.
Yeah, well, he is on that set of soft compound tyres, and he goes quickest, 2/10 ahead of Jensen. In fact, a 1:10.1 in that Ferrari on a set of soft compound tyres. Perpetuum second quickest on a set of softs, and Fleddy third quickest on a set of softs as well. They're third and fourth at this stage. This can, of course, and probably will change as we go through the session. Rudy is back into the pit lane. I thought I saw a little bit of rain there, to be honest, but it happened. This is my eyesight going nothing wayward. Now coming through turn 11, Tom Robbo has backed off his lap. Lynx is on a lap, if I'm not mistaken, coming out through the final corner. And of course, with the roaring line of the Dutchman, and he nearly spins coming through Harry Lundijk at turn 14. What a recovery that is from Lynx. Just about kept the car in the straight line. And Lynx, I think some of the brown stuff might have came out there.
Yeah, I think it's a definitely code brown there. Tom Robbo, I think, actually spun coming out of turn number 10 on his lap. He was looking very good in the first sector. A spin through turn number 10, obviously forcing him to back off. He was a long way up in the first sector, though, 2/10 faster than what we've seen from Connor. So this should definitely be a good lap. Maybe even on this second run, we might see him become the first man get into the 109s. We know on this game a lot, we're seeing drivers do a second run on a set of tyres. You really want to be starting on 2-lap-old tyres, though, around Xanvort, because I think that is going to put you at a massive disadvantage.
It will put you at a massive disadvantage, and obviously with the tyre wear around this track, the tyre degradation, it is going to really impact on the tyres. I've just seen the weather forecast, by the way, and I'll come on to that in just a second. Tom Rubble, though, looking quicker through this end of the middle sector, and now the Liverpudlian through the end of the middle sector, 48.6, and he is quick. Now coming through that middle sector, Luca, by the way, went second, so he splits Jensen and Connor for second position there, does Luca. But I think Tom Rubble's going to go quickest as he now comes through the final corner. I think I've just commentated his curse, and he comes through Ari Lundijk at 10:14. And he is going to run towards the line. Is he still going to go quickest, possibly? Tom Rubble to the line. I think that cost him a good 1/10 of a second at least. Tom Rubble, though, going third. And I'd like to put the mockers on drivers, it seems.
Yeah, he was about 3/10 slower than what we saw Connor do earlier on. So definitely could have been a good run for him. Perpetuum, he's still continuing to improve. Best result in a sprint race. Well, the best result he got was in the sprint race, I should say, of second place. Best full-time season result was 8th place at Azerbaijan, but he's diving into the pits there. He'll be hoping for a good start to the season. So Connor fastest, Luca second, Tom Robbo in third, Jensen in fourth. He's now going for a set of soft tyres, clearly feeling like his hand has been forced, and that to get a good qualifying around here, you're going to have to be on the red wall tyres.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm just writing on what was simple, nearly losing it coming through turn 9 and then to the left-hander of turn 10. Jensen, however, I saw in F2, the time in terms of where you're going to try and improve, 6-7 tenths, I would say, on a lap. So Jensen is only going to be in and around the mid-109s you would expect in terms of his lap time. Theoretically, if he was to go quicker on the set of soft compound tyres. Simple, by the way, is looking quick as well. He is coming through the final couple of corners now through Ari Lundijk at turn 14, and now on the run to the line. I don't think it's going to be the quickest lap we've seen all night, but he does come across the line to go 7th, 1:10.6. Respectful lap from the debutant in 7th position. Noah Jones and behind him there in 8th position. So good split between the soft runners and the set of medium runners as well. Smalley is invalidated coming through turn 3. Rudy is also on a lap. Jensen's teammate, 24.7 through the end of the first sector and through the end of the middle sector to 49.3. So he's roughly around 2/10 off where Simple was in the middle sector. So Rudy probably going to go in and around Boss Wanted Zerdamer sort of area, I'm thinking.
Yeah, certainly. Looking like he will be at that lower end of the top 10 at the moment as he puts the power down in the McLaren and heads towards the finish line. Could be a pretty respectable lap here for Moody as he does head towards the line. And yeah, 8th place in the head, just ahead of Simple and ahead of Noah Jones. His teammate, though, is Jensen, purple in the first sector, as you would expect. Only a personal best in the middle sector, so a bit behind what Tom Robbo did earlier on, but you'd expect, as long as he can keep it clean through 13 and through 14, he should go fastest of everyone here. We have got about half the session to go at the Dutch Grand Prix. Connor, Luca, Tom Robbo, your top 3 at the moment. Jensen, first man into the 109s, 109.844 from him, laying down a bit of a marker, but we know, Tom Robbo especially, we know there's drivers out there that have got more time.
Yeah, Tom Robbo was just coming out the pit lane. I was just comparing in terms of the first and middle sectors especially. Jensen was purple in the first sector. Tom Robbo holds the fastest middle sector, and it was the 3rd sector where he gained all of the time to Jensen. He gained 0.4 of a second on Tom Robbo in that final sector. So Jensen clearly feeling that he has got the pace so far. Noah Jones, by the way, has just gone 2nd in the Aston Martin. Good lap from him. Connor is now on a lap as well. Perpetuum has just started up with 1, and Zerdamer also starting on 1. I'm going to run on board with Connor, though. On the run up in towards Guy Flack, of course, at turn 7. If I'm pronouncing that, by the way, I am very, very pleased. Jensen, though, leading the way. Noah Jones in 2nd, Connor in 3rd. And Connor, in fact, is 300 up coming through the end of the first sector, through turn 7 and now through turn 8. And he's really going to try and build on his confidence that we've been seeing throughout the season. Of course, he had a really good result in Baku. Fantastic job from him there, and he's going to try and reclaim that form here tonight as he now comes through in towards turn 11 and 12. The right and left complex, of course, through Hans Vos as now we come through the purple middle sector. According to our timing screen, certainly it's a 24.1 through the middle sector from Connor. So he's looking very, very quick indeed. Can he find the time now, though, through this final sector? Runs wide through the apex of 13 and nearly invalidates. Tom Robbo has gone spinning through Ari Lundijk as well. Now Connor on the run to the line. Is he going to go quickest? No. 110 flat, and that really cost him coming through turn 13.
Yeah, certainly. Did a better job through turn number 7 than his teammate Bonte, who crashed out of the qualifying session, so he'll be starting most likely in last place. Great lap from Noah Jones under the radar while we were watching Connor go around on his 2nd run in qualifying. Noah getting himself into 2nd place at the moment. The Aston Martin's only finished 1 full race so far this season, and that was a 4th place at Azerbaijan, so he'll be hoping for a good performance tonight. Luca is improving slightly, half a tenth up through the first 2 sectors on his personal best. He's going to need a mighty final corners to try and overtake Connor, but you can just see clips the curb too much at 13, the opposite of what Connor did. Connor ran a bit wide, Luca got a bit greedy, and he's realised he's not going to improve, so he comes into the pit lane. A lot of drivers finding it very tricky around here in what are overcast conditions, a bit cooler than what the drivers might necessarily like. Air temperature 18 degrees, track temperature 26. It is going to be very similar for the race though, so got to get used to it.
Yeah, they've definitely got to get used to it. Lynx and Fleddy, by the way, the two Mercedes go 5th and 7th, so good lap time from there. Tom Robbo is now invalidated on his lap, so not obviously improving on his lap. Dutch Missile is an interesting one, down in 13th. Back out on a set of fresh medium compound tyres, 110.8. He's behind Rudy at this stage, but is he hoping maybe for a little bit of rain later on in the race? I can confirm, looking at the TAS system, it is going to be overcast for 60 minutes into the race. So overcast conditions, track temperature is going to remain at 25. Rain expected, however, does begin to increase as we go along, but the rain expected is only around the 20-25% mark in terms of the whole entirety of the race. But you know what Codemasters is like, they do like to throw out the rain.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if we see any rain at the moment. Funky Chicken comes across the line, he's set a lap now on a set of the soft tyres. He is in 11th, so no one in the top 10 has done their best run on a set of the mediums anymore. Everyone inside the top 10 has done their best lap on a set of softs. Tom Robbo, he is going for that 2nd run on this set this time around, slightly up again in the first sector, very wild through turn number 9, and I think, instantly backs off of that lap. They are finding it tricky around this circuit. It is very close to a beach, Xanvort, unsurprisingly. It is Nudist Beach not too far away from here. Just ask David Coulthard. I'm sorry for bringing that up for every single person who now has to get therapy again to forget that one. But it does look, the way they're driving, and I know it's not a feature on this game, the way they're driving, you'd say if this was real life, oh, it's just really dusty out there. They're finding it very difficult to find any grip.
They are really finding it difficult, and I think, honestly, in terms of how Tom Rubble has got his car set up, I was watching coming through the middle sector. He did not look happy at all with his setup. Of course, he's got a setup on. He can't really change it, apart from the minimal wing changes, of course, that you can make within Parc Fermé. So Tom Rubble is really up against it, I've got to say, tonight. He's in 6th position. Lynx is only 1,500th of a second ahead of him, but he's got Noah, he's got Connor, he's got Luca as well ahead of him out on track. And speaking of Noah Jones, of course, formerly known as IFR Noah, he is now on the run down in towards turn 1 on a set of soft compound tyres. 110 flat from him so far is his personal best. He is roughly 2/10 off Jensen in terms of his lap time. But can Noah find anything? And the answer to that is no. Coming through turn 2, he's gone for a spin and possibly picked up rear wing damage.
I'll be very surprised if he hasn't. But in the last few seconds while you were speaking, James, we've seen Simple Hawks spin it around. We've seen Noah Jones spin it around. Rudy as well. He went around at turn number 1. They are finding it exceptionally difficult at the moment. It's like they've set their cars to be very rear happy on traction here. So whether they can make a few tweaks to tyre pressures to the differential, of course, just to try and change some things. They can change it on the fly now, but you can make a bit more detailed differential changes once you go into the setup screen at the start of the race, because they all seem to be struggling with grip at all over the circuit really at the moment. We're now on board with Smalley. He is improving slightly in the first sector, but he's a long way off the pack. Well, he's the only driver in the 111s at the moment. A long way off the pack, probably a slight bit harsh. He's only 1.2 seconds off of pole position, but with how close we are used to seeing things in TTML, that is a great gaping chasm between him and the fastest car at the moment as he now comes towards that chicane at turns number 11 and 12. Perhaps a bit deep into 11. Compromises your line through turn 12. This Stadium-esque section, just hoping all these cars get out the way, and Dutch Missile does dive out the way, hits the curb at turn 13, and you know full well how that's going to end before you even see it happen. Into the gravel trap. That might well be qualifying over for him, because he's going to be compromised at the start of his next lap.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Connor there in 3rd position as well, who I've just hopped on board with, 300ths of a second up through the end of the first sector. So now coming through in towards turn 9 and then to the left-hander of turn 10, he will approach very soon indeed. But Jensen leading the way, Noah Jones in 2nd, Connor in 3rd. Connor's only 3,000th of a second off Noah, so he's very consistent in terms of his lap time. However, this middle sector has been very good indeed. He's 500th up, and according to my screen, it's purple out of everyone, and it is to 24.156 through the middle sector. Previously, it was a 24.175, so he's improved by about 200ths of a second in that middle sector alone. And Connor now, beautiful turn 13, and then through Aaron Lundbeck at turn 14. I think this could go pole. Connor on the run to the line. Does he go pole? No, he is 500ths of a second off, but Jensen is still out on top. Connor a second. Noah in 3rd. Luca, by the way, came back into pit lane, so he's not going to be improving either. Tom Robbo, once again, invalid.
Yeah, Tom Robbo invalidated, whether that's over for his qualifying. We've got Black Box, he's starting to run now. Dutch Missile going around on a set of soft tyres, so this should put him a long way up the order. What can the Alfa Romeo do? Can he get involved at the party at the top of the standings? He does indeed. 4th place then for the Dutch Missile. It was just that final sector for Connor. He was slightly down coming through the first 2 sectors, only by a few thousandths of a second. Half a tenth in the final sector. You can see what difference that does make overall. We're not seeing anyone lighting the screens up at the moment green. We've got, actually we say that, we have got one of the Alpha Telvis. It is Simple Hawks just starting to find an improvement now, and he's in the barrier once again, unfortunately for him, so he won't be going up anymore. Lynx, however, just under a 10th up on his personal best. He doesn't need to find a lot to get him into the top 5.
Yeah, 800ths of a second up coming through the end of the first sector now, coming through turn 10, and Lynx on a very good lap at this stage. He's got a little bit of a toe from Connor just off to the right-hand side. He didn't choose to opt to go for it. 48.8 through the middle sector. He's actually lost time in this middle sector. Now into the final sector through Hans Borst at turn 11, and then through turn 12, and Hans Ertens, I should say, coming through turn 11 and 12. The Dutchies are going to be having my head for that, as we now come through Ari Lundbeck at turn 13 and 14. Tom Hubbard's retired from the session. He's crashed out on track coming through turn 8, which is really disappointing from his perspective. Lynx does improve in the final sector. He goes 5th. He improved on his time, I think, rather than improving his position. So Lynx is now up to 5th. Anybody else really improving on their laps?
Sorry to interrupt you. Zoidemer's got way too greedy on the exit curb at turn number 12. Swings across the track. And it's kind of inevitable what happens in that one. Big contact in the wall. And that was looking like a much better lap time for him. A lot of drivers are finding it extremely tricky out on this circuit. Funky Chicken, he's not improving at the moment. He's down in 12th place. I think he has got time to get another run in though. Rudy now, he's coming around that final sector. You can see Zoidemer's car just there on the circuit. And Rudy, I think, almost having to get out of the way of that one. It really has shocked me how many drivers are struggling at this moment in time. But the McLaren driver does look like he is improving at least. Gets himself up into 8th position. Noah Jones, 6,000ths up through sector 3 at the moment. It was a good Oh, and he's lost it as well coming through the final corner.
Oh. Hard hit into the wall coming through Harry Lundijk. Jensen has also spun it coming through turn 30 at turn 9 and 10 even. So Jensen has spun, lost its front wing. Can Lynx do anything? No. Can Rudy do anything? No. Is he coming through the end of the first sector? He's 900 down through the end of the first sector. Perpetuum is a 10th up through the first sector, so Perpetuum might be a one to watch out for. Funky Chicken, 500 up there, coming through the end of the middle sector. Now through turn 11 and 12, I think he is further sort apart from Smalley on a lap. And Smalley, I think, is now coming in back into the pit lane. He's actually running the run to the line. He goes 16 for Funky Chicken now. On the line to try and get a good qualifying session. Through the final corner now, the Alpine or the L Plan running down towards the line, and Funky Chicken goes 11, so he's on the cusp. Perpetuum runs over the curb at turn 11, but he is a 10th up and he is purple according to my screen in the middle sector. He's not purple in terms of the task, 24.4, so I don't think he's going to be getting pole, and this is the final lap of everyone, I think. Rudy is not certainly improving on his lap either. He is back into the pit lane, and Perpetuum on the run to the line as he could improve his time. He does, he goes 6th. Good lap time from Perpetuum, but Jensen out on top, Connor second, Noah in third. Exactly what I said in TTML F2 has exactly happened. Very, very limited improvements.
Yeah, a lot of drivers making mistakes on that final run. Smalley could have got himself further up the order out of those that will be doing the alternate strategy in the race. Just a very messy final sector from him. But to be fair, how many drivers have we said that about tonight? Getting it wrong through turn number 13. I don't think I've ever seen a qualifying session littered with as many mistakes, especially towards the end. First runs, everyone seemed fine, just a few invalidations. Second run, we saw the spins. Final run, we saw the crashes. Tom Robbo crashing out, Zoidemer crashing out, Noah Jones crashing out as well. Jensen, he might have got it wrong with a spin, but he kept it clean enough on his earlier ones, and he takes pole position.
He does take pole position indeed, and we'll have a full rundown of the grid order very soon indeed. Liz Jensen out on top, 500 of a second ahead of Connor. It is a British 1-2-3. Where have you seen that before? Noah there in third, Dutch Missile in fourth, Lynx in fifth, with Perpetuum in sixth, Luca in seventh, the two Germans with Tom Robbo in eighth, Rudy in ninth, and Fleddy running off the top 10. Black Box in 11th, Funky Chicken in 12th, Zerdamer 13th, Simple Hawks in 14th, Harry in 15th, Smalley in 16th, Boss Wanted in 17th, and Bunty crashed out early in the session, and he starts right at the back of the field. But Jensen out on top, Connor in second, really shapes us up to have a really good race, of course, here at Xanvort. And once again, let's have a look at the track map in question. It is, of course, Xanvort, 4.3 kilometres in length for 2.6 miles. That's a weight the guys out on track. You've already seen the two DRS zones, of course, one down the start-finish straight, one down in towards turn 11. Plenty of opportunities for overtaking around the circuit. The three compounded tyres, of course, are the softs, mediums, and the hards around here. And I think the C2, C3, and C4 compounded tyre, I'm tempted to say if I was close. And then I'll be very, very happy. But it sets us up nicely. Connor only 500th of a second off. We know how quick he is. Jensen, of course, championship leader. This could be a really good battle.
Yeah, it could. Connor, it's kind of now or never for him. I know it's only early on in the season. We've only had 4 races, but it's only a 10-race season. You've got 6 left. You're at the halfway point at the end of this one. And Connor, I'm just trying to do the maths quickly in my head now. He's 73 points behind in this championship. He can't afford to be finishing behind Jensen. We expected him to be one of those towards the front, and maybe again for reasons outside of his control. He was a bit unlucky with, disconnections and issues in Imola last time in Hungary. Made a mistake. Portugal was just a scrappy run from him. Azerbaijan made a mistake on the strategy. Otherwise, he could have won that race as well. So he'll be looking pretty good tonight. He's starting second, though, and it is Jensen on pole position for the third time this season, as we will we'll take a look at the tyre strategies that other drivers have gone for. I'm interested to see quite a split out of those outside the top 10. 4 of them on the softs, 4 on the mediums.
Yeah, 50-50 ratio in terms of how the bottom 8 drivers look. It's Black Box, Funky Chicken, Zerdaber, and Simple Hawks on a set of soft compound tyres. Harry, Smalley, Boss Wanted, and Bunty all on a set of medium compound tyres. And if it's anything like the F2 race, we could have an early safety car, obviously, which gets deployed out, coming through. But I would say up the hill and towards Schleiflack at turn 7, that could be the point where you get a safety car. And I certainly know that from my perspective. I drove around Team LOE F2, and guess who crashed coming in towards Schleiflack? Me. Unfortunately, this is why I'm in the commentary box next to a very warm radiator, I've got to say. But top 14, obviously, on that set of soft compound tyres, and we've got to decipher that down. Of course, Black Box, Funky Chicken, Zerdaman, and Simple Hawks will be on a fresh set of soft compound tyres compared to the top 10.
Yeah, it won't make a massive amount of difference. We'll be talking a few percent possibly with the tyre wear, but it will make that difference. So that's something that they're gonna have to cope with at the start of this race, and just see how well they can hold on. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be really interesting indeed. I have a theory, by the way, about why drivers might have not been improving. I've just checked on the Discord server. Tom Robbo complaining about everyone taking out the braking meter board. So that might have been causing a few issues, of course, out on track. I certainly saw Harry Banks take out the one coming through turn 8. And that is so off-putting, I think, for a driver, given that they want to try and improve. The brake meter boards, of course, are there as a reference. That reference is taken away, so therefore you spin.
Yeah, and of course, we're in the top division. There's no assist. It's the only reference you've really got, apart from landmarks. I can't really think around this circuit where there are any really massive landmarks for you to try and go for that breaking point. So that is very difficult indeed, and can cause all sorts of chaos. Conti asking if there's any predictions on the amount of safety cars. I'm going to go a nice solid 2 safety cars. How about you, James?
3. I'm going to go 3. I think, honestly, these drivers, no assists. It's going to be quite interesting. And looking at the how Connor's positioned his car, by the way, it's well off to the left-hand side. Jensen's parked dead down the middle. And now we're about to get going. The 5 red lights now about to go out here in Xanvort. Round number 5 of the championship about to begin here in TTML F1. And it is lights and away we go. And Dutch Missile gets off to the start very well indeed. He could challenge down in towards someone. And in fact, it could be Connor that leads in towards Tarzan. Connor down on the inside line leads through Tarzan. Jensen in second. Noah Jones in third. Dutch Missile now having to filter off and back into fourth. Links in fifth. Everyone is clean through in towards turn 3 safely now. And now Connor leads the way. Jensen in second. Noah in third. Dutch Missile in fourth. On the run up the hill, side by side between Rudy and Perpetuum. And Perpetuum just about gets that move stuck. So he's into 7th position. Further down the field, by the way, Simple Hawks and Fleddy are going side by side in towards Schleiflack. And Fleddy gets the move done. Lovely stuff on the Mercedes. He is through and he's into 13th position. But the AlphaTauri now down into 14th. And Fleddy absolutely sent that one down the inside line. A little bit of contact there. I think Boss wants to get a little bit sideways. And now drives it down the inside of his own teammate. And he has to stay in 14th position. Boss wants it there in 15th. Harry Banks trying to go on the inside line. But on settling down, very good start by everyone. Connor leads by 4/10 of a second through the first half a lap.
Yeah, it's not exactly the longest run down towards turn number 1, but Connor absolutely nailed the start. You can see quite a few changes throughout the field. We have got someone who's made a mistake, though, and that is Perpetuum. He's down right at the back of the order, and Harry Banks as well. And I think that was a reset to track by Perpetuum, so he's going to get himself slapped with a 5-second penalty for that, as someone's having to go very defensive down towards turn 1, and that is Dutch Missile. He's got the inside line links, unable to make it all the way around the outside. They're trying to get these moves done before the end of, next time around. I think it's going to be maybe the last real opportunity until the DRS train starts, and then it gets very tough indeed to get any moves done. You can see the predicted pit stop strategies there. I think some of the drivers are going to try and stretch it to a soft medium, but safety cars, of course, really do change everything. As Bunty, he's into the pits, he is changing tyres, must have got damage on lap 1. He's gone back out on mediums.
He has gone back out on mediums. I think he made a slight mistake. He recovered the car. He didn't lose any positions, but he did lose the car coming out through turn 12, and that's through Hans Ernst, and that's why he lost it down now in P18. And Boss Wanter now off into the wall, and that he's got it completely and utterly beat, and he is waiting there and reversing back in. Can he get forward drive? I really hope he can. Otherwise, it's going to look a bit like TTML F2, and he has managed to get that car back underway, so the green flags are back out in that sector. Thank goodness for that. I thought we were having a little bit of a deja vu there, but Connor leads the way. Jensen in second, Noah in third, and Connor has pulled away. Good 6/10 of a second on Jensen coming down in towards Tarzan, of course, and Jensen does not set the fastest lap of the race. Tom Rubble on the back of Lynx looking quite competitive, but the IFR man cannot find a way through on the Academy driver that is, of course, in front of him in Lynx, and he is still in P5, Tom Rubble in P6. But on settling down, very good. It's just really mistakes, really catching out some of the drivers here, but everyone has pretty much been clean.
Yeah, everyone's been clean. We saw a bit of argy-bargy at the back of the field. The top 13 all within the same DRS train at the moment, and Smalley desperately trying his best to get onto the back of that on his set of the medium tyres. Might not be too bad for him in this race if he can do. There's points for the top 19, of course. We've said that many times before, so basically if you finish, you do get points, and you can use the Tazbot in the chat if you want to get any information about your favourite driver. Just use !help, but that will go over to the live chat, not the top chat, for all of the help commands. So that is one to keep an eye on. Ooh. At the front of the field, you see there, Dutch Missiles just started to drop back ever so slightly. This is going to put him under a lot of pressure from Lynx, you'd think.
Yeah, Dutch Missile made a mistake down in towards turn 11, just completely outbroke himself, and this gives now Lynx a chance. I think Dutch Missile is out of the DRS range to Noah, and this should be easy from Lynx if he can try and get the move done down in towards turn 1, which he does, and Dutch Missile moves across on him. Dutch Missile really not liking that at all. He's in on P4, and Lynx have nearly half sprinted on the curb, and now Rudy is side by side with him, and now Rudy around the outside of turn 2. Cuts off Lynx, and he's now he's into P6 laps. A little bit of a slight mistake from Lynx, really catching him. But Dutch Missile weaving down the straight. I didn't think he was aware, possibly, of the Mercedes in behind. But Dutch Missile, stoic in his defence, aggressive like Verstappen, perhaps.
Oh, I think he knew exactly where Lynx was coming down that straight. He made a... The regulations say you can make one move. I don't think they quite mean you can make it as aggressively as that. But Dutch Missile, to be fair, it wasn't in the braking zone. It wasn't... I think it was borderline as to how late it was. Lynx in the end maybe just had a slight lift off the throttle. That allowed Tom Robbo through. And then a slight mistake allowed Rudy to get alongside and through as well. Jensen did set the fastest lap of the race. Last time around, you'd expect that first lap with the DRS, of course. Now I wonder whether Tom Robbo, will he be able to make his way past the Dutch Missile? The Alfa Romeo driver just up there ahead now. DRS will be open next time around, and look how close Tom Robbo is here. He's going to try and go the long way round, and it is going to be so straightforward for him. He is up into 4th place. Can he now show that pace that we know he's got to get onto the back of Noah Jones?
Quite possibly. I mean, you would imagine so. I mean, Tom Robbo in 4th position. There is a little bit of front wing damage actually coming through turn 1, and I'm not sure who there might have been off. It's certainly not one of the front runners, but I'm just going to check the task system quickly and have a check on the damage. Tom Rubble, by the way, has got damage. Right side end plate damage, 3%. It's very, very limited damage. But Tom Rubble, 3%, it doesn't look like it's affecting him that much, because he has gained 0.2 of a second now on the back of Noah. 1.6 seconds is the gap between 3rd and 4th. But Connor commanding the race out in front. Jensen in 2nd, Noah in 3rd. Lap 5 at a 36 now on. And in behind, Harry Banks is getting close to the back of Perpetuum. Perpetuum really hasn't had a best race whatsoever. Boss Wanted, by the way, is into the pit lane. And I would imagine that Boss Wanted was the one that might have had that little bit of front wing damage coming out of turn 1. I was looking, and yes, I think he did have a bit of front wing damage.
Yeah, it's been a really tough race for Boss Wanted. A shame for him. He was building a solid, midfield championship at this moment in time, but retirement in this race won't do him any help whatsoever. Connor setting the fastest lap of the race. He's just trying to pull away at the moment. That gap, while it's hovering around 5 or 6 tenths of a second, he won't be too worried, but he knows if he makes a slight mistake coming through the final sector, then Jensen will be all over the back of him, and Noah just trying to stop on the back of him at the moment. The yellow cars, of course, for the AI car of Boss Wanted after it came out of the pits. Noah Jones is just hanging on to the coattails of these at the moment, almost dropping outside of DRS range. If he does drop back, you've got to think that Tom Robbo might be able to catch him up. But these top 13 still in this train at this moment in time, still all staying, well, from 4th to 13th, I should say, are in the train. The top 3 are getting away ever so slightly. I wonder whether we'll see any moves from those that were on a set of the fresh tyres at the start of the race. The highest person who started on a fresh set of tyres was Blackbox. He started in 11th, he's now 8th. He's got slightly better tyre wear than those ahead of him. can't do much when you're just stuck behind all these cars.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think Blackbox in 8th position, really hounding the back of Lynx. Jensen, by the way, hounding the back of Connor for the race lead. And now the IFR man, I think, is going to go down the inside line in towards turn 1 at Tarzan. And it's easy stuff from Jensen. He is through and he's into the lead of the race. Connor there in second. Noah Jones, I think, made a mistake. And now Rudy dives it down the inside line and Dutch missile in towards Tarzan. And there's contact. He sends him round and causes all sorts of carnage in behind. Blackbox certainly caught up in that. I think Dutch missile was the real... He obviously got caught up in that contact initially, and now looking in behind as well, Zerdimer is having to give a bit of a position as well. Goodness me, what on earth is going on? It's almost gone from 0 to 100, but Jensen leads the way. Connor in second, Noah Jones in third. Noah made a mistake up the hill, by the way. Blackbox, and Zerdimer back into the back of him, and Blackbox just completely broke, I think, in front of Zerdimer, and that deploys a safety car, and that was just ridiculous.
I think the problem is Blackbox had severe front wing damage, and at that point of the circuit he was kind of over to the right hand side of the track, but because of all the things that were happening, I think behind, Zoidema, I think, was trying to get ahead of someone and then was not expecting the slow moving Aston Martin to be there, and he's gone straight into the back of Blackbox. I think it will go to the stewards, but I'm not sure, apart from completely parking his car off the side of the road at first viewing, what Blackbox could have done with that one. It was just very difficult. He, of course, was the innocent party in the Rudy Dutch missile contact, and then Zoidema, the even more innocent party in all of that as well, as there's a bit of interesting movements going on here. Safety car at the end of lap 7, though. I've seen drivers go 30 laps around this track before on the same set of tyres, and that we are seeing now. Drivers coming in for a set of mediums to get them towards the end of the race.
Fleddy, however, stays out on a set of soft compound tyres. So Fleddy stays out. Obviously, the pit release is on, I believe, here in TTML, and that costs now 4 seconds as opposed to the 10 seconds that it would initially cost you, obviously, if the pit release wasn't on. But remember, he was going to double stack behind Lynx. I think he was actually behind him out on track as well. So Fleddy obviously chose to go a little bit lap longer, but does he extend now that stint under the safety car, wait for everyone to catch back up and then hold everyone up and then come in a little bit later on in the race? Or does he come in and really, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Fleddy leading the way, Jensen in second, but Fleddy has got to try and come into the pit lane, or does he extend his stint, is what I'm trying to go on about. I just had a little bit of a brain fog there, it's fine.
I think he's got to stay out. I mean, if he pits now, he's going to be coming, behind Funky Chicken, Dutch Missile and all these cars, because he has been caught by the safety car quite early on, so I think he's got to stay out on track and just hope there's a safety car pretty much instantly. He'll dive in again. Yes, he'll drop to the back, but he'll be on a fresh set of tyres at least. And this has, like you said, double stacking doesn't work as well as it does in F1. Codemasters pit crews aren't quite as well oiled as the F1 pit crew, but it's not bad from when I've seen it in other leagues. It does work a lot better than what it used to. So I'm slightly surprised why Fleddy did that. Maybe just staying out, hoping that it wouldn't be a safety car. That's what Matthias is suggesting, but I think we'd already seen that the safety car would come up. So yeah, such a shame for Fleddy that he decided to stay out. Such a shame for Zoidema that he is out of this race, and I thought for a second there Fleddy was going to dive into the pits, but he has decided to stay out. The big question is now, how much tyre wear is Jensen and all these drivers going to have towards the end? As Harry Banks coming into the end, I think that's his one compulsory lap done on that set of tyres.
It is indeed, and I think he's on now to a set of medium compound tyres. Bunty as well, probably going to go on to a set of medium compound tyres as well in the Ferrari garage. And yes, Bunty does go into the pit lane on a set of medium compound tyres. Hasn't got a front wing change, so he's back out very nicely indeed. Harry Banks there in 15th. Bunty in 16th, that should join onto the back, you would imagine, on this lap around. Fleddy, though, leading the way. Obviously, opting to extend that stint. I think that's the right call, to be honest, because if you can try and just outdo Jensen under the restart, I'll take it literally like it was tonight, obviously in Abu Dhabi. Hamilton tried to extend, obviously, on that set of hard compound tyres. Yes, it was the final lap of the race, but think of it this way. Fleddy, if he's got the pace and that set of soft compound tyres, he can probably outdo Jensen for the first lap or two after the safety cars came in. If not, Jensen is going to be all over the back of him like a hot rash.
I think Jensen's going to be all over the back of him, to be perfectly honest. He is going to be, won't be able to get away from him. 31% tyre wear on his front left, 30 to 25% on his rears. He's going to be struggling ever so slightly, and Jensen might get a lovely slipstream all the way down towards turn number 1. Safety car will be coming in this lap then. Fleddy, Jensen, Connor, your top 3 drivers, and this is going to be an intriguing one as well. Also, while all that's been going on, we've kind of missed in the midfield. Smalley 8-lap-old medium tyres, he has stayed out on circuit. That might have been because he disconnected and reconnected from the session and his AI elected to stay out on circuit, but that's probably going to be bad news for everyone behind him.
It is bad news for everyone behind him, and he's going to be the real cork in the bottle almost, as Smalley, there in 6th position, is going to have fresh guys behind him on a fresh set of rubber. So they're going to be really chomping a bit to try and get going. Fleddy, though, through Ari Lundijk, the banking through turn 14, is about to say go, and he's going to go very late indeed. And in fact, he goes on the DRS detection zone, and now on the run down towards turn 1, Fleddy will lead the way. But in behind, Tom Robbo is side by side with Noah. Rudy side by side. It could be 3-1 as Rudy dives it down the inside line on Smalley. Just about gets the car stopped. There's a little bit of contact in there, and further contact as well as Lynx now gets through. So Smalley really being caught out, really being caught napping. Rudy there in 6th now, Lynx in 7th, Smalley in 8th, and now Fleddy leads the way. 5/10 of a second. He has pulled away from Jensen, but this first lap is absolutely crucial and need the safety car restart. Fleddy there leading the way, Jensen in 2nd, and behind Lynx on the back of Rudy, trying to get the move done in towards Guy Flack, but he can't. Rudy there in 6th, Lynx currently in 7th, but Fleddy leading the way, Jensen 2nd, Connor in 3rd. Pretty uneventful restart, to be honest, as actually Luca tries to dive it down the inside of Smalley, doesn't get the job done. Think turn 11 might be his best bet if he doesn't make contact with him.
Yeah, so close to the back there of Smalley's Alfa Romeo. Of course, no DRS for 2 laps after the safety car, so first time they'll be able to use it is down this straight on lap number 12. And Luca just having to stay behind. It was a tidier restart than the actual start of the race. We saw a few cars spinning around earlier on. Smalley very lucky to perhaps not being taken out, but Fleddy just called the restart well. Got it done pretty well early on. I don't think Jensen will be too worried. He'll be thinking, once I've got the DRS, I might be able to get ahead of you. And then if Connor can't follow, I can maybe build a bit of a gap, and then things will be looking pretty good for me. Tom Robbo was all over the back of Noah Jones as well, while we saw seeing that 3 wide between Link, Smalley and Rudy, but he's just had to stay behind for what now. He made 4 places up on start number 1, not able to repeat that, but I still wouldn't write him out for a podium, given the pace that we know he's got. Maybe even that front wing damage earlier on could have helped him, because he looked to be still in with a lot of an oversteer earlier on. Maybe the balance of the car is a bit more suited to race pace now.
Yeah, I think it's stabilised, to be honest. I'm on board with him now, and he looks really stable coming through the end of the middle sector. He's now coming through turn 9 and 10, in behind Noah. Fleddy's still leading the way, but Jensen really chomping at the bit. And look at the gap he's put out on Connor as well. It's 8/10 of a second. Jensen ideally needs to make this move down in towards turn 1 now, rather than pick up a DRS train and obviously just get the move done very easily. So I think he should go now. He's got 80% of DRS to use up in through the final couple of corners, and he'll be really hoping now that Fleddy can just have a little bit of a back off the throttle so Jensen can get closer. Now running out of Ari Lundijk on the run down towards turn 1. Is he going to be close enough? The Mercedes getting closed down by the flying McLaren, and now he looks around the outside line. Jensen on the outside, Fleddy on the inside line. Is there anything he can do? Nearly pushes him off track, and Fleddy just about stays ahead, coming now through turn 2. Jensen there in 2nd, but really fighting hard, and Jensen now could get the switch back through 3, and then up the road towards 4, 5, 6, and then towards Sky Black at turn 7. Fleddy leads the way, Jensen in 2nd, and Fleddy holds on for 1 extra lap at least.
Yeah, the 2nd best defensive job that I've seen today in a Formula 1 car, that by Fleddy, and no prizes for anyone who watched the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix as to who gets first for that one. Sergio Perez is owed quite a few tequilas, I think, by Max Verstappen once they find themselves into a bar. But yeah, that's really cost Jensen. Now he was 8/10 ahead coming through this part last time compared to Connor. He's now only about 6/10 of a second. Can he get it done down this DRS straight into turn number 11? And it's not really a long enough one, and Fleddy, he's doing pretty good job at this moment in time. He's able to stay ahead. Luca, though, battling with Smalley. They're going side by side. Luca's getting a tiny bit onto the gravel. The Dutch Missile is just watching all of this happen ahead of him, but we're going to go back to the lead of the race, because I think that is going to be changing hands sooner rather than later.
It is Jensen steaming on the outside line of Fleddy will get the move done, and I think Connor's going to try and follow through as well. To the outside line, through turn 1, very late on the brakes around the outside of Tarzan. This will be brilliant if he can pull it off. He'll have the traction on the outside corner, and that is what you call a champion's move. Connor is through, and he's into 2nd position. Absolutely sailed it around the outside line. No quarter given, and Connor is through into 2nd. And that Ben move was one of the most impressive moves I've seen at Zandvoort.
Yeah, brilliant there by Connor. So late on the brakes, knowing he's got the confidence on that set of tyres to get that move, John, as we're seeing a bit of action further back. Smalley starting to drop down the field. He's dropped behind Luca and Dutch Missile. Funky Chicken and Black Box getting pretty close as well. Harry in there. Smalley's just unintentionally bunching all the field up at the moment on those older set of tyres. So I think they'll be hoping to clear him sooner rather than later. It was crucial for Connor that he got that move done. If he hadn't have done it then, he'd still be behind Fleddy now, and he'd be about 1.5 to 2 seconds behind Jensen. So absolutely crucial for his race that he's got that done. And that might just allow these front two to start escaping ever so slightly, because I think Fleddy might have just about stayed within DRS range at the detection point there. We'll see if he has got that little green line appearing on the telemetry there. No, he hasn't. He's decided to come into the pits.
He is into the pit lane from a set of soft compound tyres. You would imagine he'll go into a set of mediums, and now that disposes Noah into third position, and now dispatches, in fact, Tom Robbo in behind as well in fourth. So this is going to be quite interesting. Does Noah use Tom Robbo to try and catch back up, or can Noah do that on pace and pace alone? We saw he was right on the back of Jensen and Connor underneath the, before the safety car came out. He was right on the back within a second, and now he'll be hoping to try and get on the back of Connor once again. And it's borderline a second, and in fact, I think he is going to latch onto the back even before this lap is done. Further down the field, Black Box, by the way, is nearly side by side with Funky Chicken on the run in towards Sky Flag, but he can't get the move done through turn 8, and now in toward the right-hander of turn 9, just drops off a little bit back. Smalley defending well, but Smalley was getting a little bit aggressive, I've got to say, on Funky Chicken a little bit earlier on. Look to the inside line, did Funky Chicken. Smalley just cut across, very similar to what we saw with Dutch Missile early on, and Funky Chicken still in P10 at this moment in time. Black Box there in P11, and they remain as they are. But Connor on the back of Jensen, trying to dispatch of Noah as well. And it's 0.6 of a second separating them both out on track, and Black Box and Funky Chicken are certainly looking a lot closer. I think the battle for the lead is now Black Box on the back of Funky Chicken. Is he going to get the move done on Smalley as well, who is going to be a lot under pressure here from the Chicken in behind? And there goes the flying Alfie to the outside line through turn 1, and Black Box going to try and think about the same, and Smalley catches the curb and dispatches Funky Chicken, but Smalley caught on the curb. Black Box looked to the outside line, couldn't get the move done, so he has to sit behind him.
Yeah, has to stay behind for now. Can he get a better run out of turn number 4 here and just try and blast his way down this flat out section?
No way.
That'd be really brave, and in the end can't get alongside. Needs to think about this now. Best opportunity, if you take a better line through turn number 10, take a later apex, you might still be able to get the move done into 11 and 12 with that DRS, but we are just seeing him slip back ever so slightly. Very lucky there, Smalley, to not lose the car, and I think Black Box obviously reacting to that, just hitting the brakes ever so slightly to try and avoid crashing into the back of Smalley. He has got a good run though coming through turn number 10, so this could be an opportunity for the Aston Martin driver to dive it down the inside. Not able to do so. Smalley very late on the brakes trying to hold that. Black Box not able to get that overlap, so he's finding it quite difficult at the moment. Of course, involved in that Zoidema crash, quite unlucky to damage his rear wing, or front wing I should say, on the back of Dutch Missile earlier. He's having a lot of trouble with Missile's teammate now. Smalley though running out of ERS, so even though he's got the DRS, this should be very nice for Black Box. All the way around the outside, can he keep that overlap to get the better exit out of that corner? He can indeed. That is Black Box into the top 10, and it's now Harry Banks' time to try and get past Smalley. Back in the lead of the race though, Jensen still staying ahead of Connor at this moment in time. That gap stays about half a second, but we have seen Noah and Tom Robbo have dragged themselves along.
Yeah, he's doing a good job at the minute, Jensen. He's dictating the pace however much he likes. However, he's just made a mistake coming through turn 8 and then in towards that was turn 9, and then through turn 10, and Connor now right on the back of him, 4/10 away, and Connor now given a sniff really to try and get the lead of the race and wrestle that back off the McLaren in front. But the McLaren just holding his own out in front. I just feel though that there's mistakes beginning to creep in possibly. Harry Banks, by the way, is having no second chances on the back of Smalley, and Smalley's gone too deep. Into the gravel he goes, and he comes on track. Oh goodness me. And Harry Banks now to the right hand side. Is there damage there? Smalley certainly think it's going to give the move done, and yeah, he does. Harry Banks out through into 13. Good sportsmanship there from him, and now Connor on the back of Jensen, not close enough down in towards turn 1. But a little bit of wild and wacky racing there for a moment, but Smalley into the pit lane. I think he's damaged his car as Harry Banks is going side by side. Black Box down the inside line just in the foreground I've showed as well. Now Harry Banks is through and he's into P12, and Smalley retires from the session. Disappointing, but the way he rejoined track, I wouldn't have been surprised if he got a little bit of side pod damage there.
Yeah, I mean, we can say it was sporting to let Harry Banks back ahead of you, but it'd have been more sporting not to dive across the curb and smash into the side of him.
Yep.
When you're coming off track. A bit of a shame, obviously, for Harry, because that did lose him a position to Petra as well, who's going to be tough to pass on that set of the hard tyres as the race comes on. Those hard tyres, especially, I think, for the last maybe 5 to 10 laps are going to be the ones to be on. So don't count Perpetuum out from gaining a few places. You can see how much time Black Box and Chicken lost in all of that. They're now nearly 3 seconds off the back of Dutch Missile. This field is really starting to fragment. Luca as well, a long way off the back of Lynx, who's sort of on his own. We haven't really spoke about Rudy either, but he's still in the DRS range of this train. McLaren putting on a really good performance in the Constructors' Championship. Rudy was part of the 1-2 that we saw the McLaren team get at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix after the sprint race. He got that one as Perpetuum. He's off the circuit. He's spun it round at the final corner, and that is really difficult to recover from that position.
He has. He's also front wing as well. That might deploy a VSC. Certainly, he has got the car back underway. Whether or not his wing damage actually is spawning right through Harry Lundijk at the banking at turn 14, almost on the racing line. So I'm very surprised that there is no VSC in that. There is no safety car either. So Perpetuum into the pit lane. Simple also into the pit lane. Harry Banks into the pit lane. So they must have picked up either damage or they've gone for a different set of tyres out on track. But Jensen leading the way, Connor in second, Noah in third, Tom Rubble fourth, Rudy in fifth. We are enjoying the stream, by the way. We are halfway through. Like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell, of course, if you are new to League Racing TV, and if you are new, of course, to TTML F1. Myself and Luke Etheridge taking you through the action. Lap 18 of 36, and I've got to say, Luke, it's pretty much at this point where it begins just to fragment slightly, but hopefully second half of the race might be a little bit better.
Yeah, it's the typical Xanvort race, really. There's not a lot of overtaking opportunities, so drivers at this moment, there's no point diving it down the inside and breaking your front wing on lap number 19. Lap number 34, lap 35, you might as well start going for it. It's, I can't really say what it is, but it's something or bust, if you've ever heard that phrase before. But it's not quite 9 PM, so I'm not going to say the proper version of that one. I think for now, drivers, we're not seeing that difference in strategies as well because of the safety cars, so that might calm things down ever so slightly. Jensen seems to have recovered from that slight mistake earlier and is just able to build the gap up above Connor where it matters, which is part of race management. It doesn't matter if Connor's all over your tail coming out of turn number 1 all the way pretty much onto this part of the circuit, because he's not going to get a move done. You've just got to save a bit of your ERS, make sure you get turn number 10 good to not get overtaken into turn number 11, make sure you get 13 and 14 well. You should make it really difficult for Connor to overtake, because he's not close enough to really utilise the DRS at the moment.
He isn't. He caught the curb as well, coming through turn 10, and that just threw off the car off centre. Now Noah, arguably, is now on the back of him to try and get the move done. Takes the thinner line to the banking as well. It seems to gain time as well, but Noah now has got no chance because he hasn't used up any deployment. Connor is, and he does deploy a little bit of VRS down towards turn 1, but not close enough, obviously, to get the move. Still lap 20 out of 36. Jensen leading the way, Connor second, Noah in third. Tom Rubble, by the way, doing still a good job in fourth. Seems to have got more and more confident, I'm going to say, into this race. And you never know, if mistakes happen in front, Tom Rubble was there to try and pick up all the pieces, because he's been there really chomping at the bit on the back of Noah. Obviously can't find a way through, but he's just utilising Noah to drag him onto the back. And if I've got to be honest, Noah beginning to look quicker than Connor, and that could play into the hands of Tom Rubble and behind.
Yeah, but it's a bit like Lando Norris yesterday when he said, I don't want to get involved with Max and Lewis. He was hoping they were making contact into turn 1 and he could take the lead of this race. And I think this is what Tom Rubble, who has a massive slide there, coming through turn number 10, perhaps getting a bit too close for comfort in the dirty air. Of course, today was the last time we saw this spec of Formula 1 cars, which should still be the fastest we've ever seen, but not the best for racing, and the last time we've seen the 13-inch wheels as well. So Formula 1 going to have a very different look next year. It's really difficult, especially around a track like this, to follow as closely as the drivers are trying to do. So they're doing a good job to drive as fast as they are, but it all just concertinas back up in the braking zones and in the DRS slightly as well. That allows you to close up and then stretches out through the medium speed corners, of which there is a lot around this Xanvort circuit. Basically the entire second sector is just medium speed corners, so that's where you see the gaps starting to spread out. That is why not a lot is happening at this moment in time. Jensen got 30% less ERS than Connor, so you feel if Connor can just pull in a gap and get close enough to maybe force Jensen to go more defensive, that could be an advantage for the Ferrari man, because he's got a lot more electrical energy.
You'd like to imagine so. I think Connor is just somewhat holding back slightly, maybe on Jensen. Realises Jensen is beginning to get away, but Noah is on the back of him. And I think if Connor's not careful, he's going to be able to DRS this lap around, and that means Noah is going to be on the back of him to try and pick up that DRS as soon as I say that. By the way, now close up back to 7-10. But again, catching the curve through turn 11 and then through turn 12 just seems to me as if he hasn't got the most stable setup on that car. And he is beginning to find that a little bit of a problem. He's running turbulent air as well with Jensen in front. Obviously, not going to be close enough down in towards turn 1. Further down the field, by the way, an interesting battle beginning to spawn up. Harry Banks and Bunty, 12th and 13th position. Set us off companatized for Harry. Came in as a result of that damage from a little bit early on in the race. But now on the back of Bunty, you would imagine he's probably going to get the move done down in towards Tarzan at turn 1. Because obviously he is on, 7 lap pressure tyres?
Yeah, 7 lap pressure tyres, and of course 2-step softer tyres as well, so he should have plenty of grip now. At the end of the race, he's going to be hanging on, I think, for dear life to get those softs towards the end, but a lot less fuel than what we were seeing earlier on, so he should be able to make it, and this should be one of the most straightforward moves of Harry Banks' career. The reigning F1 champion not having the return to TTML F1 that he would have liked, but he is now up into 12th place, and you never know what could happen. He might be able to catch some of those up later on in the race and might be able to have himself some fun, maybe even seeing him get the fastest lap, which is currently being held by Jensen on a 1:12.3, but you can expect the soft tyres to be quicker, and they are still pretty fresh. There's also battles as well between Dr. Missile and Luca, but the Alfa Romeo driver just not able to get close enough to the back of the TTG man, so they're staying in 7th and 8th for now, and they're just sort of in their own little world. Same with Lynx. He'll be hoping, Lynx will be hoping that he doesn't start getting caught up by those drivers behind. Barring any miracles, looks like 6th is the best the Mercedes man's going to get.
Yeah, 6th is definitely the best he's going to try and get. I'm looking at the task system. I'm really concerned about Tom Rubble's tyres. Front left has really taken a hit around this track, and he's on 41% in terms of his front left so far. 39% for Lynx, and he's only 2 positions behind, albeit in clean air. Simple Hawks, by the way, good. The move, he's into the wall. Simple Hawks into the wall, coming out of turn 13, gets caught on the outside. Kobe just complete the move as well on Bunty. Bunty back through, and he's in the wall, and that rear car, the rear damage is off, and a safety car, in fact, is being deployed from a VSC. So we now get that little bit of a break, I think. Tom Robbo has been saved, because I didn't think he was getting to the end on those tyres.
Now, of course, that front wing damage, it might have, made his car feel a bit more comfortable. It was only 3%, but it will add up over time. He's been driving incredibly fast with the damage. Something's got to give, and what was given was his front left tyre wear, it seems. But he's now coming into the pits. Connor's tyre wear has been exemplary, to be honest. His front tyres are in a much better condition, but maybe that's why we're seeing a bit more scribbly from him on the rears as well. Just struggling slightly with that, and more of an oversteery setup as Jensen comes in. Connor comes in very late as well. That was very close to maybe being an illegal pit entry from the Ferrari man, but I think we're going to see pretty much the entire field come in and put on a set of softs to the end of the race. We've practically got a sprint race here.
We have indeed. Rudy, by the way, got held up in the pit lane slightly on a set of soft compound tyres. Fortunate, I think, because he hasn't lost any positions. He's back out there in 5th position. Jensen, though, now underneath the safety car once again, leading the way. Connor in 2nd, Noah in 3rd. We have got our 2nd safety car of tonight. Are we going to get another one before the end of the race? I wonder whose prediction's going to come right in terms of the safety car stakes. But Jensen leading the way, Connor in 2nd, Noah in 3rd, Tom Robbo in 4th. And honestly, Tom Robbo's been saved, I've got to say, by that set of soft compound tyres now going on his car. 12 laps is going to be quite a long way to try and get towards the end of the race, but it should be no problem, I think, for them to get to the end of the race. But he was struggling in that set of mediums. If he was having higher tyre wear on a set of mediums, will his tyre wear be more extensive on a set of softs?
It should be, but again, 12 laps, well, it's going to be, 11 racing laps, 2 under the safety car is pretty much going to equal 12 full racing laps, so he might struggle slightly more with tyre wear, but I can't imagine it being... It's not going to be a problem for punctures. Grip, it might start being a problem in the final few laps, but I can't see any of the field struggling with punctures here. Someone who might find himself in a bit of trouble, Fleddy and Perpetuum, both on a set of medium tyres, really not the tyres you want to be on at this moment in time, so things are going to be quite tough for them. No penalties in this race as well. Look what happens when you put grass and gravel on the edge of all of the corners. Amazingly, the drivers can find out where the track limits are and can stick to them.
Yeah, definitely. I think, honestly, on the set of soft compound tyres, you're going to be struggling in terms of the tyre wear later on in your stint. In the first 7, 8, 9 laps, I would say, you're going to be fine in terms of the set of softs. So everyone really in the top 10 bar Fleddy is the one that's going to be struggling. On that set of medium compounded tyres, they're probably the wrong call. However, there's a few punctures ahead and they ride the curbs very aggressively. You never know what could happen. This is Formula 1, by the way. The same Formula 1 that produced a farcical finish to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix earlier on. But still, luckily this is sim racing and not real life. Jensen leading the way though. Connor in second, Noah in third, Tom Robbo in fourth. And we have got Jensen trying to control that race from the front. Can Connor now try and impact on him on this set of soft compounded tyres? Because we saw how Jensen was quick in the set of mediums. Can he now outplay Jensen for that race win?
Yeah, if he's got that tyre wear advantage on the set of softs as well, that could put him in a really good stead at the end of the race, because we weren't really getting to a part where the tyres were getting limited. If we don't see any more safety cars, and hell, maybe even if we do get a safety car, because I'm not sure how many more fresh rubber these drivers are going to have. This could well be their last pit stop in this race, even if we do get another safety car, unless you really want to gamble it all, because you'll lose a lot of track position. You might see Connor speeding up. He had the lead right up until that first safety car came out on circuit, and then just at that point Jensen had overtook him. He lost the lead and hasn't really looked too close, apart from one lap, hasn't looked too close from being able to get that position ahead. But now the safety car is coming in. Now it is down to Jensen. He just needs to try and get a good restart. And it'll be interesting from a championship position. If Connor does go for it, will Jensen just let the move happen? Because he'd only lose 5 points. And at the moment, Connor's not his main rival. Tom Robbo is.
Yeah, Tom Robbo down in fourth. He's got to get through Noah as well. So it's going to be really interesting. Jensen's got a very nice, consistent pace on the safety car restart. But look at Connor sticking right underneath the rear wing to the back of Jensen. And Jensen now goes. And Connor's been caught a little bit napping here. Noah, though, in behind, caught napping also. So Connor is fine on the run down in towards turn 1. Tom Robbo, however, side by side with Noah. Noah dives in on Connor and forcing him up to the outside line through Tarzan. That was late on the brakes from Noah. And now, through turn 2 and 3, Noah, I think, is just about to get the move done. But Connor fights back down the inside line. Now into the banking. And Connor just about getting the move done. It's side by side on the run up towards Sky Flag. Goodness me, this is going to be close. And now Noah and Connor side by side. It could end in tears on the run up the hill. Noah to the inside line. Can he get the move done? Connor hangs it about the outside of Sky Flag. Can he get the move done? He does. What a move by Connor. How on earth? That is resilience at its finest from Connor. It's given a second advantage away to Jensen. But wow, that was great racing. Into the outside line of Sky Flag. Connor is through. Grip in hand, and he's through and he's into second. Wow, that was brilliant.
Yeah, might have been a bit rough and ready from Noah, and then Connor as he tried to fight that move back. But great respect from the two of them coming through turn number 7. Could easily have ended in a horrendous accident that probably would have ended both of their races. But Connor does take that position all the way around the outside. He's got to use plenty of his ERS though now to try and get back within that 1 second window of Jensen. Otherwise, he's going to find things quite hard in this race. Harry Banks all over the back then of Perpetuum on the run down towards turn number 1 here. He's going to get that position done as well. And Rudy all over the back of Tom Robbo, pushing the Williams almost through the first corner. Things stay as they are. So Harry's got himself ahead of one medium runner. Fleddy will be his next target. Apart from what happened at the front, there wasn't too much action on that lap. And really, with Connor staying ahead, not really any position changes.
Yeah, no position changes at all. Harry Banks, I think, moved past Perpetuum, if I'm not mistaken. So he's into P12. Perpetuum now down in P13. But there was certainly a battle between them both. Bunty as well now looking quick on that sort of soft compounded tyres. Can he try and make an impact in this race as well? But Jensen leading the way. 1.5 seconds the gap. And because Connor has taken a little bit more tyre life out of his tyres, now is the time for Jensen to begin to dominate this race. We have got 3/4 of this race done, and now with just a quarter of the race to go, with about 10 laps to go after this one, Jensen leading the way, Connor in second, Noah Jones in third. Really good action, of course, out on track. It is coming to a crescendo, 1.6 seconds the gap, and Jensen now arguably looks in a world of his own because Connor cannot live up with the pace.
Yeah, and of course Jensen, if he keeps setting these fantastic times, he has again got the fastest lap of the race now, and I imagine he'll hold that until the end, unless one of the cars at the back goes for a late pit stop. And talking at a car at the back, Bunty here trying to go for a late move down the inside of Perpetuum, forces the Haas driver wide, who did kind of just leave the door open there. Oh, there's contact between the two of them. Perpetuum off into the wall. Is that damage driver then? Front wing damage for Perpetuum. He's going to be Pretty annoyed, I think, about that one. Feels like he was shoved out of the way at turn 1 and then not left any space to recover coming through the next corner as well. So, not an ideal race. The former F1 champion really finding it difficult at the first part of the season. Connor having a big moment there, I think, coming out of turn number 9 that we just caught the tail end of. Is that his Tom Robbo round?
Tom Robbo round coming through turn 9, and that is unfortunate. Has he got front wing damage on the car? Let's have a look when he spins round. I don't think he has. Looking at the task system, I don't think he has either. So Tom Robbo, I think, has got away with that. I think he might have gone sideways on, coming in through the final couple of corners, and he spins again. He's in the wall.
He hasn't got away with that one. I think it's fair to say just a bit of frustration there on the throttle. Is that going to be another safety car or not? He is in the gravel, but it's not a lot of gravel at that part of the circuit. It looks like we are getting away with it, though. Disaster for Tom Robbo, and again for Jensen. This is a dream scenario for him to be in. 1.7 seconds in the lead of this race. The guy directly behind him in the championship is scoring no points. The man third in the championship is Zoidema. He's scoring no points as well. So Jensen could well have a 60-odd point lead here with only 5 races remaining.
Quite possibly, and Jensen has really taken about himself now to dominate this race. I'm sure that will get looked into by the stewards. I was looking at my iPad, by the way, for damage on Perpetuum. He did have damage on that car, and Tom Robbo also did in terms of his car as well. Obviously, taking out the frustration, it seems, on the barrier more than anything else, and I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that. But Jensen leading the way, 1.9 seconds. Connor cannot live up to Jensen's pace at the minute. Funky Chicken now is side by side with Fleddy, and Fleddy gets a lovely move done around the outside line, now in towards turn 10, and now down the hill in towards 11, and Harry Banks is side by side with him as well, and could look to the inside line. Not quite enough. It could be down in towards Tarzan at turn 1 where he gets the move done. But now the gap is 2 seconds. Coming through Harry Lundijk once again for Jensen. Leading the way. Connor in second. Noah Jones in third. Rudy in fourth. Lynx is looking close though on the back of Rudy. And now Rudy is under pressure. The McLaren and the Mercedes go side by side. And it's easy pickings for the Mercedes. Lynx is through and he's into P4. And he's been really an underdog in this race so far. Picking his way through the field nicely. Yeah, a little bit of luck involved. But Lynx is now through and he's into fourth. Rudy there in fifth. And now Lynx can try and put the hammer down to the back of Noah.
Yeah, and I think Lynx is actually on for a net second in the championship as things stand at the moment. He'd go half a point ahead of Tom Robbo, so not doing bad whatsoever at the moment. Noah trying to close into the back of Connor as well, I think, to give himself a chance of moving up in the championship. But we're seeing some of these drivers that just keep it consistent. It's working out very well for them. I'm surprised Fleddy, the only man left in this race on a set of medium tyres, managed to get that move done on Harry, as I do quickly get the tyres up again there. Well, not on Harry, sorry, on Funky Chicken. I can only think that Chicken made a slight mistake of himself there. He hasn't got any damage to his wings, thankfully, so got away with that one, but drops down into 11th place. Not looking great for Alpine either at the moment in the Constructors. 11th and nothing for them. McLaren first and fifth. It is looking really good for them. Can Rudy, though, try and attack back at Lynx, or will he start dropping into the clutches of Dutch Missile, Luca, and maybe even Black Box?
I think it'll be more the latter, to be honest. Rudy's beginning to struggle. Obviously, he's still within that DRS train to Lynx, but he is beginning to struggle. Really struggled through the middle sector, and now Dutch Missile on the back of him, 5/10 of a second away. Harry Banks is beginning to make his way through the field as well, as Fleddy in 9th, Harry Banks in 10th, but Harry now on the back of Fleddy. I haven't got Omicron, by the way, if that's what you're thinking. Harry Banks now on the back though of Fleddy, on the run towards Skyflash. Not going to be close enough, but he is beginning to close in on that set of medium compound size that Fleddy is running. And Fleddy done a good job to this point. Harry Banks there in 10th position, but still, Jensen dominating. 2.2, 2.3 seconds now out in front, still turning up the tap. Out in front, Connor in second, Noah in third. But look at how the second and third have now pulled away from fourth and fifth. Lynx now left behind, 1.7 seconds. He got the move done, but it seems like he can't really make an impact or close on the back of Noah, given because Noah's obviously got DRS.
Yeah, these two, even if they did feel under pressure, Connor and Noah, just if they were swapping DRS every lap, that would help them out. But Connor's clearly got the pace in the free air. We've seen that all throughout this race. When he's been free air, he's been incredibly quick, and Noah's just getting dragged along with the DRS, and Lynx just having to sit back, clearly feeling the need to go slightly defensive to try and break the toe down that straight. We're seeing a few others do that as well. I think that was his teammate Fleddy and Harry Banks also having to weave their way down the straight. It's okay, kind of, if you do it in a straight line, as long as you don't go ridiculous like Alonso did in the sprint race at Silverstone. But once you get to the braking zone, you've got to pick a line and stick with it, and that is Perpetuum out of the race coming out of turn number 12. That could well be another safety car.
It is a safety car, and Perpetuum spins coming through turn 12. That's through turn 11, in fact. I think he's got caught in the curb on the outside. It sent him spinning round, gone to the right-hand side, and he's off in the wall, and Perpetuum is out of the race. And that deploys the safety car out on track. So unfortunate, Perpetuum was driving okay this race, but he does look like a shell of his former self, I've got to say. But Jensen leading the way. What does everyone do? They've got to stay out, surely, you would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if you pit now, you are dropping down to the... I mean, if you're Bunty and Chicken, maybe it's worth it if you've got a fresh set of tyres. Anyone else, you're going to lose too many places. Lap 34 is when the race is going to restart. There's not going to be any DRS, so we've seen how difficult it is to overtake around here. So, yeah, I think you pretty much just carry on towards the end now.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, Jensen certainly stays out. Connor in behind stays out, and we'll probably imagine that everyone is going to stay. I'm thinking Fleddy might come into the pit lane possibly. And in fact, I thought Luca was going to come into the pits there. Fleddy stays out. I think everyone is staying out, to be honest. Bunty is in. So he's the only one to pit in currently. He's in P12 at the minute. Lap 33 out of 36 beginning. Now he goes on for a fresh set of soft compounded tyres. But Jensen leading the way. Connor in second. Noah in third. Jensen leading the way. And while we've got a little bit of break in the action, Boris Johnson has been on the blower in terms of addressing the nation. He has announced that a booster jab is available for all over 18s before the end of December in terms of eligibility. So if you are like 24, like me, and you're going to be picking up a jab before the new year, then definitely so, because it's the best way, of course, to protect against Omicron. I just thought I'd mention that while we've got a little bit of break in the action.
I'm willing to bet large amounts of money that won't happen, but let's not go into that. That's if you thought Verstappen and Hamilton is a can of worms that we don't want to open. That is a whole other story. Let's focus on the race and let's focus on the final 3.5 laps. Hopefully, we'll only get another 1.5. Well, we will only get, no matter what happens, only 1.5 more laps under the safety car. Jensen in the lead. Last time around, Noah initially got a bad restart and then sent it down the inside of Connor. And that kind of caused all the chaos and allowed Jensen to break away. Will we see something similar happen this time around? We checked the tyre wear. Very similar for the front two drivers. Jensen's got a bit better rears, a bit worse fronts. Noah and Lynx, both with slightly worse tyre wear. So I can't imagine they're going to be playing too much of a factor in this race. You've got to try and catch someone napping because you're not going to have DRS to make any moves. And we've not seen too many on either of the restarts so far, especially when the drag reduction system hasn't been active. Not to put a bit of a downer on the end of this race, but barring a mistake, I'd still say Jensen's got it.
I think he will, to be honest. He's looked dominant on this stint, and I think Jensen will be carrying on, possibly hoping for another race win, of course, here in TTML F1. Connor, though, do not discount him out whatsoever. If he can get a better start than Jensen, we saw how Jensen got a quick start off the last safety car. Connor now, in second, has got to hope for more of the same. He's got to hope to try and stick like super glue to the back of the McLaren in front of him and literally stay there until the final lap of the race and then try and make your move. But does he have the tyres to do so? It remains to be seen. He's actually better off in terms of his tyres by about 2 or 3% compared to Jensen. So that 2 or 3% advantage could really help Connor in terms of this race. But Jensen leading the way, Connor in second, Noah in third, Lynx in fourth. And I'm concerned about Lynx's rear left tyre, 33% on that rear left. Everyone else further down the field, apart from Black Box on 32%, they're the only ones that have really overshot their rears slightly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I can't see it being too bad at this moment in time. Safety car is coming in on this lap. Maybe they're just going to have to be careful now that they're on a bit more worn set of tyres, coming out of turn 1 for the first time, one of the slowest corners on the circuit, to make sure that they don't get things wrong. Connor has those better front tyres, but his rears are slightly worse, so he should struggle more on traction, and that's what's going to be important on this restart here, as he is dropping quite a long way back there from Jensen, who I think was wishing, in fact he is going for it quite early on. Connor's left a big gap there, and this is a very strange restart that we're seeing. Jensen judged it right and didn't catch the safety car, and we are back up and running again. Jensen, Connor is flying away at the front of the field. We've got Luca now all over the back of Dutch missile. Contact between the two of them in the braking zone. Luca's off into the gravel. And what looked like a possible move up into 6th place. He's down into last as Bunty. He uses those fresh tyres to get himself into the top 10. Very strange restart indeed. Connor clearly didn't think Jensen would be able to go that early. As it turns out, he could.
He could indeed, and yeah, Jensen, 5/10 away from Connor. Connor just sat back and almost gave him the race win, to be honest, underneath that safety car restart. It was very strange. He was thinking, obviously, Jensen was going to slow, but can Connor now try and fight back on the back of Jensen? They are both on the same ERS, about to go on to the final lap of the race, coming down in towards turn 11 and 12 at Hans Ernst, and Jensen leading the way, Connor in second, Noah in third. But what is going to happen further down the field? Bunsey, we saw, get past him, Funky Chicken. He is going to make massive gains through the field and close up right to the back of Harry Banks through turn 11 and now to the left-hand of turn 12 and gives him a little bit of a love tap just for good measure. And Bunsey still in P10. But Jensen, that gap that Connor just exposed away, really, that is the winning gap for Jensen, it seems.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race as well. That might well get beaten with the assistance of Slipstream, but I think it is going to be pretty tough. Black Box, one of the closest to the car in front, out on track, but with no DRS, no real opportunity for him. He is down in 7th place, and that contact with Dutch Missile on Luca, it was optimistic from Luca, but he's going to say, I was fully alongside. I was due some space in all that, and you didn't give me any, my friend. Bunce has got a better run, has he, out of that corner? No, Harry Banks just able to get away. So it looks like one Ferrari is going to be sick of the sight of a Red Bull at the end of this race, and the other one might well be sick to death for seeing the back of the McLaren. He's been stuck behind him since just before the first safety car. As long as Jensen keeps it clean, it's going to be a 4th victory out of 5 and a huge boost to his championship chances.
Yeah, he's looked dominant on this second stint. Connor, though, was trying to gain 4/10 away through turn 10, and they got caught on the curb, and that just ebbs away the gap again. And now Jensen coming around the final couple of corners. It's been a brilliant, dominant drive from Jensen once again. 4 out of 5 wins coming his way, and he's going to take the biggest of the lot possibly here in Zandvoort. Jensen on the run to the line will win the Dutch Grand Prix. Connor wins. Connor finishes in second. Don't know why I was thinking he won. No in third. Links in fourth. Rudy, Dutch Missile, Black Box, Fleddy, Harry Banks, Bunsey, Funky Chicken, and Luca ran off the 12. Finishes out on track, but Jensen taking the win. Big boost in terms of his championship standings. Will get the primary championship standings up. Draw of the day, what about the in-game fans? Bunsey. I tend to really disagree on that.
Well, he started last and there was a lot of retirements, so that's kind of my tactic of getting driver of the day. If you're bad at qualifying and you finish the race, you've got a decent chance of getting it. But yeah, he obviously made some moves towards the end, but Jensen did well to recover from what was a bad start to the race where Connor took the lead after he got the lead just before the before the first safety car even. Never really looked in doubt. Great job by Connor to recover after some bad results to get another podium and a first podium as well this season for Noah Jones.
Indeed it is. Noah getting third, Connor there in second, but Jensen to the top step of the podium once again. Really good in terms of his sideway, and he takes the win, and he also takes the Grand Slam, as we like to call it. Pole position, fastest lap, and the race win for Jensen. Connor there in second, drove his best, to be honest, on wearing tyres. Drove an absolute phenomenal race. Noah there in third, Links in fourth. It's a British 1, 2, 3, 4, which I really like to see here in the Netherlands. Rudy in fifth, Dutch Missile in sixth, Black Box 7th, Fleddy in 8th, Harry Banks in 9th, and Bunsey running off the top 10. Funky Chicken 11th, Luca in 12th. They're the finishers. Perpetuum, of course, because of that last safety car. Thank you very much, by the way, Perpetuum, for 3 safety cars. Tom Robbo in 14th, Simple Hawks in 15th, Smalley 16th, Zernema and Boss Wanted all out of the race at various points. Indeed, but Jensen out on top, Connor second, Noah Jones in third. Shall we get the top 3 in?
Yeah, we'll try and get them in for the interviews. I'll just quickly give you the live championship standings before any Stewart inquiries. Jensen now has 133 and a half. And I believe it's Lynx who's in second on 69 points. So that is 64 and a half points behind. 5 races remaining. It's possible. It's mathematically possible. He could win this after the Canadian Grand Prix. You'd imagine, though, after the French Grand Prix, with the form he's in, Tom Robbo's Jensen is going to be very difficult to beat.
You'd like to imagine so, and I think, honestly, how this has all came about, Jensen has just been simply the most dominant driver on the grid so far, and has been absolutely brilliant to see, I've got to say, how that has obviously been spawned about. Connor tried to live it up with him in that final safety car restart, didn't, unfortunately, and it was really a bit of an unfortunate thing that he didn't, because I thought Connor was going to try and produce a little bit more of a performance than what he actually did. And of course, Noah Jones picking up his first podium of the season there in third position, a very good position for him, obviously finishing in third position. But I can see 2 out of the top 3, of course, in the waiting room. I think we should try and get them in now. And speaking of which, here is the race winner, IFR Jensen, 4th win of the season out of 5. Must be happy with that one, but you had to work hard for it.
Yeah, thanks. It was very tricky one because I couldn't get away at the start because of course the DRS Connor managed to keep within there. He's absolutely dumping the energy I think at the start, but first stint Connor got the jump on me, so I just hung around in his DRS, and when I got past him, someone crashed and a safety car came out on that same lap. So of course, boxed for the mediums, which everyone else apart from Fleddy did, and I think I got a little bit held up after that restart, and we were basically in the same boat, but I think I had the pace on the mediums there. All the way to the end, I was just trying to get the gap, and in the end I held on until another safety car on lap 23 went to the softs, so did everyone else, and yeah, the restart I got there was brilliant, and with Noah and Connor fighting, I managed to get a gap, and 3-second built, and then another safety car comes out. But I think the last safety car for sure stopped any overtaking. But I think even without the last safety car, I would have been a lot more comfortable. But in the end, it's another win and the fastest lap as well. So yeah, it does me bits.
Yeah, what we like to call the Grand Slam, I think, as well, in terms of the pole position, fastest lap, and indeed the race win. It was a stunning drive from your perspective. Talk us through that final safety car, though, because it almost looked like you judged it wrong. Talk us through it.
What do you mean by judging it wrong?
Because the safety car pretty much came into the pit lane, and you were literally alongside it.
Yeah, I saw Connor was like 1 second behind me, so I thought maybe try and get the restart done early on before he catches up when he's suspecting to restart on the straight. And in the end I did. I had 6 attempts to him, but I saw the safety car. I was just praying I didn't get slowed down. Luckily enough I was alright. It was a little scary moment there because if I got slowed down, of course Connor probably would have passed me, but yeah. In the end, I feel happy that didn't happen, so yeah.
Yeah, and still a very happy result, I've got to say, from your perspective. Luke, I'm going to come across to you. Any questions?
No, I think you pretty much covered all the questions I was going to ask, James.
Final question from me, of course. Next week we go to Russia. Russia has tended to be one of your tracks that you do well at, in terms of certainly in LOE. How do you think you're going to get on around there?
I've not had the greatest performances this game at Russia. I've not reached the podium yet around there. Of course, you've probably seen in some races I've just, not had the luck. 2 times that I've been crashed out on the final lap, kind of dropping out of the podium. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. But I think Russia's probably be damage limitation and just score as many points as I can. So I don't think I will win there, to be honest. But from then on, for the rest of the season, hoping I could win all those. But we'll see.
Well, I mean, you've got a 2-race advantage pretty much going into next week anyways. So it's not as if you're going to be dropping points anyways in terms of the score. But a fantastic race from you, Jensen. Go and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, and thank you guys for commentary as well.
You are very welcome indeed, and we'll now move on to the man who finished in P2. It was NSX Connor, and Connor, fantastic drive from your perspective. A bit up against it in the final 2 stints, obviously, when the safety cars came out. Talk us through it.
It was a pretty decent race, apart from the second restart, when Noah sent me down the inside and let Jensen get away. But apart from that, it wasn't too bad. I was surprised with the pace because fucking hate this track. It just aids to drive, but no, decent. At least I finished.
Very decent drive, I've got to say, from your perspective. Talk us through the final stint, though, because it almost looked like, as I say, you were up against it against Jensen. Did you feel like you had the pace to try and beat him tonight?
I don't know. I think we're quite similar on pace. Not fast enough to overtake without DRS. But that sort of got ruined on the first restart. But no, he deserved the win. He had good pace. Obviously, he had pole with an earlier lap as well, so there was definitely more pace in it. But no, I'm fairly happy with it. But obviously, I'd like the win.
The win, but still, second position, I think, is a fantastic result from your perspective. Hopefully, this might be the kickstart to your season as well. Obviously, as you go through, you might laugh at that, but still, it might be the kickstart to your season that it will obviously inevitably get you up towards the top echelons of the field, and that's what I really hope from my perspective. Luke, I'm going to come across to you. Any questions?
Yeah, congratulations on the podium, Connor. You seem to be hanging back a lot on that final restart. Were you expecting Jensen to be able to go as early as it did? Was that a tactic for you to maybe try to predict when he was going to go and give yourself a longer run at him?
Yeah, he caught me napping a bit. I was a bit distracted, and next thing I knew it, he put his foot down. He had like a 6/10 gap, which wasn't ideal, but I don't think it made too much difference anyway. I think he would have been able to defend it, and that was pretty much the only chance to get.
Yeah, certainly very tough to overtake around here, especially when there's no DRS. I'll hand you back to James.
Apologies, I think my connection might be cutting out slightly, but final question from me, Connor. Russia next week, how do you think you're going to get on?
It's a lovely track. I do like Russia. Hopefully my internet holds up and I can have a good race, but I don't have much faith with that.
Well, you never know. Hopefully it might be the week whether it works and you might pick up the race win.
Hopefully.
That'd be nice.
That's fun.
When you're OP at Russia,
I don't know.
he's got the world record at Russia.
He
as
has
well,
indeed.
so.
That's with Vine. That I don't know how about.
I mean, still going to have Russia. I'm not having it. So
It's still a good record to have, though, going into next week. It gives your competitors something to aim at for sure. But Connor, go and enjoy your evening.
Cheers. You too. See ya.
Very welcome indeed. And now we'll move on to the man who finished in P3 for the first time this season, in fact, on the podium. It is, of course, Noah Jones, formerly known as IFR Noah. And Noah, fantastic race from your perspective, kept up to the pace, obviously, of the front two. Talk us through it.
So I had a way better qualifying than expected, with, in practice, not much pace. So main aim was to finish, and I did in a P3, so I'm happy. So if you just keep in the DRS, it was fine. So that's what I did, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, talk us through the second safety car restart as well. Were you intentionally diving down the inside of Connor?
No, I was trying to defend from Tom, and it just happened. I made a pretty good battle in sector 1 and the start of sector 2, so it wasn't too bad. And it also just gave me a free shot at Connor until the next safety car came out.
Yeah, I think in that, certainly when I was riding on board with it, it looked like you missed your braking point slightly and then just sort of nearly cannoned into the side of him, down in towards Tarzan. But it was still a very good battle, and I commend you both, of course, for that battle. Of course, going in towards Skyflack and obviously Connor getting the move done around there. Luke, I'm going to come across to you. Any questions?
No questions from me, James.
And that means, final question goes to me once again. Russia, next week, how do you think you're going to get on?
I've not done Russia much in this game, so it's not looking good, but I'll do as much practice as possible and see what will happen.
A bit of a fact-finding mission, me think. So I think Russia, honestly, is one of those tracks where produces really good action, and hopefully it might be the same for you, of course, next week. But go and enjoy your evening, Noah.
Thank you.
And that is the end of the interviews. Big thank you, of course, to Jensen, to Noah, and to Connor for joining us in the commentary box for the interviews. Luke, I'm going to come across to you. Final thoughts and overall driver of the day.
I think final thoughts, definitely a very, very exciting race. Plenty of stuff happening. Driver of the day, it's the boring choice, but I don't know whether we can look back past Jensen just for the way he controlled the final two safety car restarts. Got them absolutely spot on. Once he got ahead of Connor, never really looked like getting overtaken, even though it isn't easy to do around here. Connor was never really close enough to battle after he got overtaken before the first safety car. So a great job from Jensen. 4 wins out of 5, a podium in the other one with a second position in imperious form at the halfway point.
Yeah, he is looking really imperious, isn't he? And can anybody stop him, of course, going into Russia? You can find out, of course, next week for TTML F1 on Sunday night at 8 p.m. UK time. More actions to come, of course, next week on League Racing TV. So CWC is going to be live tomorrow at 7 and 8 p.m. UK time for the League 1 and League 2 division. And then, of course, we are back on Tuesday night for TTML GT. Not sure what track it's around, but we are live definitely for TTML GT. And then we've got EML back on Wednesday. Myself and Mike Edwards are taking you through the action, of course, for EML Premier. And you're going to be alongside the lovely Aidan Carter in League 1, and of course, League 2, Graham Chappell and Storm taking you through the action for League 2. Thursday, of course, TTML F2 and F3. Myself and Pepsi taking you through the action. F3, of course, it is Storm and Mike. And then F4 and F5 is Pariah and Buck for F5, and then F4 is Concy and Funky Chicken. And I may as well give a little bit of a shout out as well. 24 hours of F1 event next week. Please get supporting. Myself and Luke are going to be doing 2 shifts together on the Saturday evening. So we would love you to join us there, of course, when it is getting live streamed. And all links, of course, will be out probably when the stream actually does start on the Saturday afternoon. But that is it from us. Really hope you enjoyed the action. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, tick the notification bell, of course. If you're new to League Racing TV, I've been James Head.
I've been Luke Etheridge.
Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.